So, good morning, delegates. Welcome to the official session of the Speech Council. Today, we will analyze a highly controversial case involving artificial intelligence, misinformation, political impact, and ethical concerns. Recently, a video created using AI, a deepfake, went viral on a social media. The video appears to show well-known political figure delivering an aggressive speech against immigrants. The language used is discriminatory, hostile, and politically charged. However, the politician publicly stated that they never delivered that speech. It was completely fabricated by an anonymous social media user. Despite being false, the video has been shared millions of times, influencing public opinion and creating significant confusion. Our task today is to determine what should happen with this deepfake speech. Should it remain online as free expression? Should it be removed because it spreads hate speech and disinformation? Should it remain but be regulated, contextualized, or labeled? Each member of our council will examine the case through a different ethical, legal, or analytical lens. Every statement, we will proceed to a vote. We will begin with the person directly involved in the controversial situation.
Thank you. I stand before you as the individual whose identity and voice were manipulated through artificial intelligence. Although the video looks realistic, although the audio sounds like me, and although millions have believed it, I want to reiterate that I never said those words. The consequences have been severe. In the past few days, I have received threats, hateful message, and public criticism based on a speech that does not reflect my beliefs or values. My work, reputation, and relationships have been affected by something entirely fabricated. Artificial intelligence or AI is way too powerful, but when used irresponsibly, it becomes a weapon capable of destroying trust, damaging reputation, and altering political processes. And this isn't only about me, it's about the danger of letting false information spread without barriers. I believe freedom of expression is important, but it must coexist with responsibility and truth. When a fake video causes real life harm, platforms and creators must be held accountable. For these reasons, I firmly believe that the deepfake should be removed, or at minimum flashed in a way that leaves no doubt that it's artificial intelligence and misleading. Our society depends on accurate information. Without it, democracy itself it's a risk.
From an ethical standpoint, this case forces us to confront difficult questions about technology, morality, and responsibility. Artificial intelligence can empower creativity, education, and innovation. But when AI is used to fabricate words, actions, and identities, the consequences extend beyond mere misinformation. They strike at the core of a human dignity and trust. The deepfake in question not only misrepresents a public figure, but also manipulates the emotions of viewers. It exploits social tensions, amplifies fear, and expresses hostility towards vulnerable groups. Ethically speaking, intentionally and designing content that appears real but conveys false information violates principles of honesty, fairness, and respect for others. Allowing this video to circulate freely normalizes deception as a valid communicative strategy. Society cannot function if we can no longer trust what we see or hear. While I do not believe we should censor every piece of AI-generated content, this case crosses ethical boundaries because the harm is concrete and intentional. My recommendation is that the video should be regulated with strict leveling, content warnings, and transparency tools that clearly disclose its artificial nature. If such measures are not possible, removal may be ethically justified.
From a legal perspective, the deepfake raises multiple red flags. First, the video could constitute defamation, since it attributes harmful statements to someone who never made them. Second, the deepfake might violate rights of image and identity, as it uses someone's likeness without consent. Third, because the content concerns immigration, a politically sensitive topic. The deepfake might interfere with electoral process or public policy debates, which is legal significant in many countries. Several jurisdictions already consider harmful deepfakes a punishable offensive, especially when they spread misinformation or damage reputation. Furthermore, online platforms have increased legal obligations to monitor and moderate harmful artificial content. This situation invites an important question. Should the liability fall of the creator, the platform, or both? Given the anonymous nature of the creator, the platform becomes a key actor. If they allow the continued spread of a clearly harmful, fabricated political speech, they may be failing their duty to prevent disinformation and protect public safety. Based on current legal standards and the potential for real-world harm, I argue that the deepfake should be either removed or heavily regulated, leaving it unmoderated poses legal and social risks we cannot ignore.
Now, examining bias, stereotypes, and manipulation, this deepfake is engineered to provoke emotional reaction. The speech uses exaggerated negative portrayals of migrants, enforcing stereotypes, and playing into polarizing narratives. It weaponizes fear and anger, two emotions often used to manipulate audiences. The algorithmic realism of the video also contributes to cognitive bias. When people see something that looks authentic, they are more likely to believe it without it questioning the source. The deepfake exploits this psychological vulnerability. Moreover, targeting a specific political figure indicates a strategic choice. Someone crafted this content to influence public perception of a particular individual and a sensitive social issue. This manipulation threatens informed decision making and deepens societal divisions. Because of its biased content and its strategic intention, I strongly recommend that the video to be regulated, clearly labeled, and contextualized. The public must know that this is not real speech, that its purpose is manipulative, allowing it to spread freely will contribute to misinformation and harmful bias.
My role is to assess hidden motivate or potential gains behind the creation of this deepfake. Although the creator claims they intended to raise awareness about the danger of AI, the evidence suggests other possible motives: increasing their social media following, monetize views or engagement, influencing public opinion about immigration, damaging the credibility of a political figure, promoting a political ideology, gaining attention or recognition. Deepfakes do not emerge in a vacuum. They are often designed to achieve influence, whether political, financial, or social, even if the creator denies malicious intent. The context and timing suggest the potential presence of personal benefits. For these reasons, I believe unrestricted distribution cannot be justified. When conflicts of interest exist, transparency must take priority. The video should therefore be regulated, accompanied by a clean explanation of these origins and motives. Only then can the public make an informed judgment.
As a defender of free speech, I acknowledge that controversial ideas, even uncomfortable ones, deserve to be expressed. Removing content set as a dangerous precedent because one censorship begins. it can easily expand, people must have the right to explore, criticize, and discuss these implications of artificial intelligence. However, freedom of expressions is not equivalent to freedom to decide. This deepfake is misleading, but rather than banning it outright, I believe the most democratic response is transparency, not suppression. Keeping the video online, accompanied by a clear label identifying it as deepfake, allows people to learn from it. It becomes an educational example of how easily technology can manipulate reality. Removing it entirely hides the problem instead of addressing it. Therefore, my position is to allow the video, but with mandatory warnings, contextual information, and public education about deepfakes.
My focus is on determining whether the content crosses the line into hate speech. Although the speech is fake, its impact is real. The words used in the deepfake target a vulnerable group, migrants, with hostile and dehumanizing language. This is characteristic of hate speech, which can escalate into discrimination, violence, or social exclusion. Whether the politician actually said these words is irrelevant to the impact the message creates. People who see the deepfake may perceive it as a justification for xenophobic attitudes. The video can inflame tensions, encourage prejudice, and legitimize harmful rhetoric. Because hate speech has the potential to harm communities, spread fear, and normalize discrimination, I believe the deepfake should be removed. Allowing it to circulate would contribute to an environment of hostility and misinformation.
Now everybody is going to say their final posture.
To conclude, I want to emphasize that this deepfake has caused real harm. It misrepresents who I am and spreads false ideas that affect both my reputation and public trust. Artificial intelligence should not be used to manipulate identities or fabricate political message. My final stand remain clear. This video should be removed to prevent further damage and protect the integrity of public discourse.
Ethically, our society depends on honesty, accountability, and respect for human dignity. Allowing a realistic but false video to circulate undermines these principles. We cannot normalize deception. Therefore, my final position is that the video must be regulated or restricted, ensuring that viewers clearly understand it as it is an artificial.
From a legal standpoint, this deepfake violates several protections: identity rights, reputation, and potentially public order. Leaving it online without control would set a dangerous precedent. My final recommendation is that the video should be removed or officially labeled, aligning with legal obligations to prevent disinformation and defamation.
Well, it's my final posture. This video reinforces harmful stereotypes and deliberately manipulates the audience's emotions. Its intention is not to inform but to distort public perception and shape opinions through biased framing. Because this kind of content threatens fair, transparent, and unbiased public debate. My final stance is that it must be regulated with clear warnings and the contextual information to prevent manipulation and protect viewers from misleading narratives.
My final position: the motivation behind creating these deepfakes remain questionable and potentially self-serving. Whenever hidden interests are present, transparency must come first. My final position is that the video should be regulated and accompanied by a clear disclosure of this artificial nature and suspicious intent.
Okay, so for my final position is that freedom of speech is essentially and removing content entirely should be a last resort. However, transparency is equally important. My final position is that the video may stay online, but only with strong warnings and context, so viewers are not deceived.
Well, for my final position, regardless of its origin, the message in this depict promotes hostility toward a vulnerable group. It contributes to a climate of discrimination and fear. Because hate speech carries real social risks, my final conclusion is that the video should be removed.
Okay, thank you to every member of the Speech Council for your detailed and thoughtful contributions. We will now vote on one of the following actions. Raise your hand if you want one of these. Number 1, allow the video as free speech. Number 2, remove the video as harmful or hateful content. Number 3, modify or regulate the video with labels and contextual warnings. Okay, delegates, the final position is clear. The final position is to remove the video as a harmful or hateful content. This concludes today's session of the Speech Council. Through this case, we have seen that the artificial intelligence is not merely a technology tool. It is a force capable of shaping public discourse, influencing political decisions, and challenging our ethical and legal systems. The responsibility to use AI wisely belongs to all of us, creators, platforms, institutions, and citizens. Thank you for participating, and thank you for engaging this important conversation. The session now is adjourned.
Okay, so in my posture, in principle, yes, the ability to create and share even provocative or misleading content is a cornerstone of open discourse. But no removal risks establish a precedent where authorities or platforms decide what citizens might see or hear. That path can too easily be abused and expand over time. Should it remain to be regulated, contextualized, or labeled? This is the most balanced approach. A clear, neutral, and prominent label stating this is AI generated, it empowers viewers to evaluate the material themselves while reducing the likelihood of unintended harm.
The perspective that influenced me the most was the ethics representatives' view, because they clearly explain how the deepfake harms public trust and manipulates people emotionally. I don't think there's ever a perfect balance between free speech and protection from harm. In real life, at the school, in media, or in politics, this shows why we need to question sources, recognize manipulation, and be aware of how biased content can shape opinions.
As the Ethics Committee representative, my opinion is based on respecting people's rights and values. Also, respecting their free speech and their safety. Avoiding in every moment the misinformation and the manipulated information, with the purpose of having right information.
Well, here is my conclusion. The perspective that influenced me the most was the legal one, because a deepfake of an influencer clearly threatens their image rights and reputation. I don't think there's a perfect balance between free speech and protection from harm. It always depends on the context. In real life, whether in school, media, or politics. This reminds us to verify information and communicate responsibly so that AI generated false content doesn't damage someone's credibility.
So reflecting, the ethical perspective shaped my view because it focuses on preventing harm to vulnerable groups. Also, there's rarely a perfect balance between free speech and protection from harm, since both of these values often conflict. Finally, these challenges appears in schools, media, and politics, where communication can either promote respect or contribute to discrimination, making responsible messaging more essential.
The perspective that influenced me the most was ethic, because the creators' hidden motives made the deepfakes fundamental misleading. I don't think there can ever be a perfect balance between free speech and protect from harm. So transparency is the only realistic middle point disconnect to real life in schools, media, and politics, where deepfakes can easily distort opinions and damage credibility unless their artificial nature and intentions are clearly disclosed. Thanks.
In conclusion, I think every perspective has a point, but the common factor in every proposal was ethics. I think it's really important to have nice ethics, since it's what moves us as human beings. Also, I don't think there's a balance yet, since every free speech always comes with a dark side or an extreme posture. But whenever this balance exists, we will start progressing as a society. And finally, I think this applies to real life, since we're abording a real topic and an important one. And talking about these types of topics reflects the importance of communication in our daily lives. Thank you.